everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another one of my COVID recovery stories, where I bring you inspiring people from all around the world who are either fighting on the front line of this pandemic or somehow are contributing to the fight against the virus and inspiring their communities and loved ones. Now tonight I want to focus on an important issue, and that is domestic violence. Many communities worldwide are seeing a rise in this issue, a horrific challenge that impacts usually women, children, the LGBT community, and some of the most vulnerable people in the world. There's actually a recent article and research from Council on Foreign Relations on this issue, and I recommend to you all who are interested in the topic to read how many people around the world are facing a double challenge, a double pandemic, not just the COVID-19, but also domestic abuse. And that's what we're going to talk about. But we're actually going to talk about how one woman is having an impact on this issue and give you some hope on how you can also contribute to this very important issue and bring some change to the lives that may be affected by the rise in the domestic abuse that we're seeing due to COVID. Now we're going to London and we're going to speak with a fantastic young woman who is not just an entrepreneur, but a kind person, someone who really can talk about how her own personal journey is having an impact on women who are in need, but also those who she has employed. Alexia Genta will be joining me. She is the founder and owner of Alexia Alterations in London. And due to the pandemic, like many other small businesses around the world, her shop has closed. And her alteration shop has been employing seamstresses, very talented seamstresses who are now unemployed and not working. But I got a call. But as a result, Alexia is doing something to not just help her employees, but also give back to Women's Aid UK, a charity that focuses specifically on domestic abuse and supporting women and children who are a victim of such abuses. And with that said, we are going to bring Alexia in, and she's going to tell us about her work, Gēraldine London, and what she does and her new venture. So let's bring her in. Hi,
Hello.
Alexa.
Hello, Tara. How are you?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you so much for the kind introduction.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you so much for what you do and really the kindness that you're spreading. So
Thank you.
tell us about Gēraldine London. I briefly mentioned it because I wanted you to introduce it and talk about it. And then we're going to go talk about you know, what you're doing with it and your alteration shop, and of course.
Of course. Of course. Can you hear me well?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So as you mentioned, I used to run, I run a very beautiful, very high-end clothes alterations business. And when the pandemic started, I understood very quickly, this is not going to be good for us. I'm sure we're going to close. And when Italy went into lockdown, you know, I'm from south of France, so I was very in tune with, you know, what was going on in Italy and in France. I thought, okay, this is definitely going to happen in London. And so I spoke to my seamstresses and I asked them, you know, what can you do from home? Because they are mainly freelancers, the ones that I'm helping, who are helping me and who I'm helping now. And I really didn't want them to suffer financially. I wanted to find a solution and not give up. And also for myself, of course, I have financial pressures. But of course, they, unfortunately, you know, they live in fairly small spaces. It's not a workroom with all the professional equipment, etc., etc. And one day I turned to my shelf with full of fabrics from Gucci, Cavalli, Peter Pilotto, beautiful fabrics you could only dream of, and that I never wanted to throw away. Even though they were perhaps pieces like this big, I just couldn't throw them away. And I said, well, can we make accessories? Can we make headbands? I always loved headbands. I thought they're very flattering. And we talked about it, and over the, I think it was a 3 weeks period between Italy went into lockdown in England, and we just worked like crazy on making prototypes and discussing the process and everything. And then on the last day, I said, okay, everybody, here are the boxes of fabric, here are your domestic sewing machine, let's do this. And in 1 month, they created the most amazing collection of headbands. All with upcycled fabric, stunning. I did the websites, what happens with creating a business is, that not that easy. Signed up for the business, the trademark, and all that kind of stuff. And that's it. We've launched 3 weeks ago. So in 1 month.
Congratulations, really. And this is one of those stories that reflects on how good things can come out of despair. Positive stories and inspiration can come out of some of the most challenging circumstances. So not only you're creating an opportunity for your seamstresses who otherwise would be out of work, but you're also creating stunning pieces from designer fabrics.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so wonderful. It also, I think, even I'm very close to my seamstresses. We get along so well, and it's lovely. Instead of doing nothing and feeling miserable, we feel like we're always moving forward. We're creating something exciting. We're all in this together. It feels like an adventure, Every morning we're on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, because there's always one communication that fails. And we laugh, we catch up. I've met their husbands. It's become a bit like this, but it's lovely. And I mean, the work that they do, they are amazing ladies. They really are so overqualified, to be honest, for this.
And so the alteration shop that you had, is one of the most high-end shops in London. So these women are truly skilled, but are contributing to a cause that in midst of the pandemic is in ways helping themselves. But you're also helping another cause, and let's talk about that because it's an important issue. And as I mentioned, Council on Foreign Relations just released a good report on this, and I will put the link up, calling it the double pandemic: domestic violence in the age of COVID-19, an issue that's on the rise, as you know, not just in the UK, but elsewhere around the world, as countries prompt and guide people to stay at home, and in lockdown, those who are victim of domestic abuse are only suffering more. So talk to me about why you picked Women's Aid.
So firstly, where it all began was really, it felt wrong to do business for business sake. Even though it was partly to save my business, etc., I still felt, why am I going to create more stuff? I need purpose right now, and it really felt like I needed to contribute in one way or another. And then it just happened. I was, reading the news, and I saw that in London only, since the beginning of the pandemic, there were 4,000 domestic abuse arrests. And I thought, in London only, and on top of this, there must be so many women who are not reporting it. So how many of these women are there in London and in the rest of the world? So I was, I felt so terrible, because here I am at home. Yes, I'm a bit upset that my business is suffering, etc. But I am safe. I cannot even imagine for someone who's in lockdown, but actually home is even less safe than outside. It's terrible. And And so I looked at charities, and Women's Aid I really felt a connection with, and I really loved their initiative, which is a live chat. And I think that's a fantastic idea because, of course, if you're at home and you have your abusive partner next to you, it's very difficult to make a phone call
Of
to
course.
ask for help. And actually, by creating this live chat, it helps so many women report the abuse that they are going through. So I thought that was really great. And they also explained to me, I spoke to them, we are doing this together. And of course, they're partnering with far greater brands, but it's an honor to work with them. That £5, a donation of £5 is one live chat. And I think, it felt great.
One chat can be a life saved.
Yeah.
So for £5,
Yeah.
someone can help save a life.
Yes, absolutely. And as much as I'm here to promote my headbands, I'm also encourage you to go on the Women's Aid website, learn about what they do, and you don't have to buy my headbands. You can donate directly to them. They need help.
Right. No, I don't think, you sell yourself short, I think. It's not about buying headbands, and I don't think the conversation about that. It's really about, finding hope in sort of, a dark space, finding opportunities for others who perhaps are unemployed and their employment is at question. And also, while doing that, finding causes that are important to people and they can actually support. I think it's so important when we put it in numbers that £5, $5, which is a cost of, a coffee and croissant in New York, it's actually $7. I don't know, $5 coffee and something at Starbucks can actually save a life. So it's more than that. But tell us about the website, the percentage that you're giving to Women's Aid, and a little bit about that if the viewers right now or when we post later are interested in buying.
Absolutely. So it's very easy. I donate 20% of my revenue to Women's Aid.
Wow.
So far, we've raised over £1,000, which for a startup is a good amount, but I hope it will keep increasing. And I try to, as much as possible, to donate and to spread awareness about Women's Aid. So every time I have the opportunity, I try to talk about them. They recently received enough donations to even extend the working hours so that they cover the chat for a longer amount of time. I think that it clearly shows that they are in need of donations and that they use every single pound towards helping women in a very pragmatic way, which I love. So you can just buy when you mention my website, you can buy a headband, and immediately 20% of the revenue will go to Women's Aid.
Oh, wonderful. And actually, I was trying to do some math because I'm not that great at it, but 1,000 divided by £5 would be how many lives?
Oh, please don't make me do this.
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. But it's a lot of lives.
Unfortunately, it's the tragedy of the calculator on the phone,
Embarrassing. And being a journalist and a writer, I think math is where I am quite an embarrassment. But the point is that we are, you are engaged in something that is actually life-changing quite a bit. But Alexia, I want to talk to you about how you kind of got that courage, because I know a lot of young women out there who, are business owners and entrepreneurs who are at home and are not active, doing whatever they do on a daily basis. And they kind of tend to go in this, down cycle of hopelessness, and they really don't feel like starting something new. But you actually put it together, pulled it together, and started a website from scratch, a business from scratch, and pulled it together. What gave you that hope, really? What kind of, inspired you to do that? And also, what's your advice to other women who are as capable but may not have that, excitement or energy to see their work come through?
So firstly, I see my husband actually commented 200 chats. So that's funny.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
For 200 lives that you saved. Bravo. Bravo.
Yes, so in terms of energy, I always had plenty of energy. It's just in my DNA. I think I inherited that from my mother. I love working. I love beautiful things. And I, I didn't even think about it. For me, it was obvious that I was going to do something. And it happened to be headbands. And really, in this specific case, I did something very different to Alexia Alterations. When I founded Alexia Alterations, it took me a good year I was working at the same time, so I didn't have the time, but I did my business plan. I found my target audience. I did, I was the perfect student. I did everything, perfectly. Then I realized that actually it was not at all like what I planned once I actually ran the business. So all that pre-work wasn't very helpful. This time I felt, well, it's headbands or it's nothing. So I'm not going to waste time. I'm just going to go for it. And I kept doing. Every day I kept ticking boxes. Internet, content, how can I do it? It's very difficult to take a picture of a headband like how it appears on Net-a-Porter, It's like floating in air. It looks. So I had to figure out how did they do it? And I had to do it with a nylon thread between two Evian bottled water, and then find the sort of white screen and learn Photoshop. And, it's just about every day, just do things and find joy in that. And you won't have time to worry about what's going on to your business on the other side. And you just need to have a direction and keep going. It's resilience. It's really resilience and finding joy in that.
Wonderful. And that really shows. I think that's so important, finding that resilience in times of crisis right now. What are you looking forward to the most? Because certainly, Alexia Alterations is going to open up once the lockdowns are lifted. What do you look forward to the most, going back to work and having your seamstresses coming back to their jobs?
So I can't wait to see my seamstresses again. It's very strange over FaceTime, and I do miss them and my clients. I'm in this very fortunate position where I meet incredible women often who are successful and give me with so much generosity all their advice. And I miss that connection with the client. And I think what was beautiful with my clients was they would walk in, perhaps a lot of them feeling a bit self-conscious. They didn't feel like the dress fitted them very well, etc. They would step on our podium and they weren't feeling good, And then they would come back for the second fitting once the work was done, and they were moving with all this confidence. And this was a great feeling for me because it was a sign of a job well done, and it made the lady feel great in her body shape, and it was a really, really nice feeling. So I miss that the most.
That's great. It's again, back to my introduction, you really exude that kindness that
thank you.
We sometimes miss, especially in the fashion world. And you may not necessarily be working in the fashion industry as a producer of clothes, but you certainly are exposed to it. And I want to hear your thoughts on sort of the future of luxury shopping and luxury fashion. I think as the shops open up in cosmopolitans and elsewhere in the world, what do you hope to see from labels all over the world, fashion labels, big brands? What do you think they can do to kind of show a little bit more kindness to not just the environment, but also people engaging in
Yeah.
charities. What do you think about that?
So I think that after all of this, people will want to see governments and companies
Mm,
as leaders,
mm,
as taking responsibility. It's not just governments, it's also companies. I think they will want sustainability to be at the core of the company.
mm,
There will be a bigger demand for it, which might be a business opportunity. So perhaps, hopefully, companies will now pay more attention to do it. But when I say sustainable, it's exactly what you say. I don't mean just environmental, it's also social and from an economic point of view. Um, and with regards to people, how they're treated, having had many seamstresses over time, I've met a few, some are freelancers, some are full-time, but I've had the pleasure to work with many seamstresses, and they are not treated fairly
mm.
from many large companies. They are ladies who have experienced, some of them. I mean, my head seamstress, she has over 30 years of experience. She's worked for the biggest couture houses. And when I hear about the mental pressure that was put on them and how they try to always make them believe they were not that talented, it is not, they are phenomenal, and they really deserve to be well paid, and they deserve to work in good conditions in a workroom with lights, with a window outside, not always in the basement of a shop. It's I think that's very important. So I hope that more and more companies will treat their seamstresses or their workers in that way.
I think so. It's so true what you're saying, Alexa. It's so true because I think this whole crisis is making companies and corporations realize that in ways we're all equal. I mean, we always were equal, but I think it's a very humbling moment that those sort of up there who are always looking down at the people who work for them. Uh, are now realizing that no, there's no difference, and like
Yeah.
you said, let's just hope that they would start treating the employees who are really at the core of
Oh,
the
yes.
product.
Without them, I have no alterations, I have no
Of course.
headbands.
No.
Like it's about having that self-awareness, and it's very important.
Yes, let's hope that that kindness spreads in people who haven't been showing it. Okay, so tell us again where we can get your headbands and on Instagram and your websites. Tell us about that. And can you show us a few if you have around you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start by showing you a few pieces. So we really have two. So firstly, I launch new headbands every Friday for
Oh,
the for the obvious reasons that we are making them as we are selling them.
of course.
Um, and we are selling way more than I
Oh,
originally
great.
expected, which is, fantastic for us. Most of them are unique. Some of them I had enough fabric to make a limited edition.
Ah,
So that would mean no more than 4 pieces. So generally, I don't mean to sound too sales pitchy, but if you like a color, don't wait 2 weeks to get it, because often they're the ones that
fine.
go the fastest.
Yes, because you're using your fabric that you have at your shop. So it's not, you're getting fabric from a fabric store. You make
Absolutely. So that's which is really great, because I'm so glad I didn't throw away. For so long, I kept looking at these full boxes, thinking, why am I occupying so much space? And now, little by little, we're getting through them.
let's
So we have really two main styles, but it's likely to keep growing. But we have the top knot, which is what I'm wearing now. It's more casual, and it seems to be selling a lot more because currently it's perfect for a Zoom call, or, it's not over the top, and it's a casual thing to wear. Also, what I like is that it adds, I come from a tailor perspective. So I just think what makes a woman look beautiful. A headband tends to elongate your face. So it
yes,
makes you look, slimmer,
yes, yes.
and it brings light to your face in such an easy way.
Now I need a, I wish I had
So So we have them with pearls, with crystals and different colors, you know, navy, white, etc. I don't know if you can see very well. And then I have braided headbands, which I think are so, so beautiful. If I can, maybe I can even wear one. This one is from Pilotto fabric. And it's obviously it doesn't go with the jumper I'm wearing, but it adds so much volume and it's so lovely
Oh,
to
stunning. And you can even put your hair up, and I think it would really, make it super dressy, hopefully post
exactly.
looking go out. It really adds to that outfit.
Yeah, and then you have I don't know if you could guess which one that what brand that would be.
Oh, I have three guess. Okay, can I have three guesses?
Go
Maybe
for it.
Versace, Gucci. Uh,
Definitely ends in E.
oh my God, Gucci,
Cavalli.
Cavalli. Ah, okay. So
But fair, I understand why you said Versace.
oh
I
yeah,
can see it.
Versace, Gucci maybe. Yeah.
And this is beautiful organza from a Mary Katranzu
Oh,
skirt.
of course, yes.
So, you know, it's amazing because it just means that I'm not just buying more fabric, I'm
First.
using, and these are all from dresses that were not worn. So it's perfectly clean or, you know, so it's really, you know, a lovely thing to be doing to just while not harming the environment at all.
Oh, brilliant. Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, tell us the website again.
So the website is GēraldineLondon.com. It's so everything is sold online. I have my Instagram, which is Geraldine London with the underscore.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I've messaged Geraldine London, who's a lady who never responded to me.
Okay, I'm sure you're very easy to find. And then Alexia Alterations is the alteration shop. So when
Yes,
start opening up, I'm sure business will pick up. But I think what remains is your kindness and your resilience and really lifting up the spirit of the women who work for you, but also the women who are being able to get the support they need from Women's Aid UK, a charity that supports women and children and others who are suffering from domestic violence. And 20% of your sales go directly to Women's Aid UK, where £5 can really save a life. Thank you so much, Alexia Genta.
thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.